started. We thought we'd do a workshop just on working with the schools network for a couple of reasons. One is that I've worked with the group of kind of strategic leads that we've got in the county for a couple of years now, and we've made some real good progress kind of within our roles. But kind of the next step to that is trying to bring a clubs network kind of into that more as well. And the kind of the second of all is that the school space can be quite complicated and quite messy if you're not involved in it and you don't necessarily understand how the system works and how the network works. So for those that aren't kind of within that education system, I thought it'd be a kind of a good introduction potentially for some of you is that you might be hitting barriers or finding it difficult to work with schools and maybe trying to put a little bit more context behind why that might be the case and or the kind of the people that will kind of unlock some of them doors for you to start working within them environments as kind of the main couple of purposes. To help us kind of do that, we've got obviously those of you that kind of signed up this evening for the call. And I've also invited our or some of our strategic leads across the county kind of to come and join us. And we'll go through what their role is very shortly, kind of throughout the bit of the presentation that we've got. And we've got an opportunity a little bit later just to split out into some breakout rooms, hopefully if I can get the technology to work, so that you can have a chat with kind of your area strategic leads or whoever might be like the nearest person to you who might be able to just offer kind of and share a little bit of advice or context into your specific areas. And obviously I will apologize, my voice is going a little bit, so I'm just about powering through at the minute, but hopefully I won't have to do too much presenting and don't sound too bad at the moment. But if it breaks throughout the course of the presentation, then I apologise for that throughout. We've also got a couple of people that are going to help us kind of present this evening as well and maybe explain things sometimes a little bit better than I can. So hopefully flicking through. Just recapping on that kind of agenda piece, we're going to have a little look at kind of understanding what the landscape of the school space looks like, kind of what the Barclays Girls Football in Schools, previously called Barclays Girls School Partnerships, with a slight name and brand change for this season, kind of what that network is all about, kind of introduce our strategic leads for the ones that we've got on the call tonight and the others that we have in the county amongst a couple of other people that do slightly different roles but still very much involved in that school space as well. We've got an opportunity then to kind of break out into some of them rooms and you can have a chat with them a little bit more directly, and then we'll come back on to kind of the main presentation and Decaf was just to recap and if anybody's got any questions. So hopefully we should get through a bit of content and stuff there. I think Chris is with us now. So we will try and move on to the first bit. If my screen will go on to the next slide. We're being a bit slow tonight. Apologies. Oh, it skipped way too far ahead now. Too many clicks. Apologies. We'll try and go back. Technology, don't we all love it sometimes? Right, we'll go from this slide and we'll present from here, hopefully. Perfect. There we go. Right, Chris, if you're about, I'll hand over to you if you're here.
Do you know what? I've got a terrible thing that I should turn. I just need to shut my utility room because I can hear my washing machine. So I will do that.
Yeah, no problem, Chris. So while Chris is just doing that, I'll give everybody. So when I first started this role, I met Chris and some of the other kind of guys in the role, and yeah, and my first thought was kind of wow, there's so quite a lot going on in this world. And it's probably taken me about a good year, 18 months to kind of get my head around kind of what goes on in the different groups and different networks. So I thought this was probably a good place to start before we start to add anything more specific to. So on this note, I'll hand over to Chris.
Okay,
Chris, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself first before we carry on.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's fine. Hi, I'm Chris Wood. I am the strategic lead based in South Staffs, based at Cheslin Hay. I've worked at Cheslin Hay for about 20 years now through the various guise of sports colleges, PDMs, school games, and also the addition of strategic leads. And I think Danny's absolutely right. Sport is a very complex place, and everybody thinks they know about football because it's such a visible sport that everybody thinks they know about it. And obviously we are really pleased that now sport is much more visible for both male and female players, and that has definitely improved. But in general, I think everybody thinks, oh, I know about this and I know how to get this to work. And then they start examining the school space and they realise that there are lots of different structures. And in addition to try and make those structures work, they probably popped somebody into a district in schools to probably think, well, I think this is how it works in my particular area. So you've got the landscape of multi-academy trusts now, which are relatively new in the last 10 to 15 years. We've got the work that we do with the English Schools FA, which often parents don't see the difference between the FA and the English Schools FA. You've got various little informal school groups that work together on football. You've got school sports partnerships, which are sort of legacy from the 2000s, whereby there was groups of schools who had people paid to go out and work with clusters of primaries and secondary schools. You've got the school games, and you've got Barclays Girls Football in schools. Generally, the people who are now working with Barclays Girls Football in schools have a link to school sports partnership or school games. And our main focus has been looking at the equality provision, so equal access in the curriculum and also equal access in the extracurricular space. We do a survey every year, and we hope that the schools are truthful in terms of how much equality the provision is in curriculum, and also what the equality provision is in extracurricular. But I'm sure there's lots of you say, oh, well, this school says it does that, but I know my child's never had that. So, unfortunately, we are only subject to the fact that what is replied to in the survey. In terms of our work, I think over the last 2 years, it's become really apparent that, well, it's fine, you can do this in the school space, but you really need to reach out to your communities more, because actually that's where it's going to have bigger impact, and that's where it's going to have a longer lasting effect. So you can put lots of little events into the school calendar, but if you're not reaching out to your clubs, or you do not know where the clubs are to go to, or if there are clubs that need to be developed, then actually you're almost not working strategically at all. You're just putting on football for football's sake. So I think that's the kind of role that we're definitely coming to in the next 2 years. And Kelly, who's in Stafford, myself, who's in South Staffs, and Vicky, who's on the call as well from Stoke, we all have very different ways of approaching our role, but we try to make it work for our area, for the provision that they've got. And I can be quite honest, there are some things that I definitely need to improve on, and some of it is my community provision. But I'm also very aware that I have some very, very strong clubs that almost do it without me having to meet with them. Whereas other areas, I think, well, we need to try and develop our clubs a bit more. I don't know whether that's helped at all, Danny, or whether you want to say
of course.
else.
Yeah, no, of course, obviously. So it just gives you a little bit of kind of insight as there's kind of lots of different groups that will run kind of sport provision or football provision kind of in them structures. And I'd also thought it'd be useful just to give kind of those of you from clubs on the call a little bit of a picture of who might be in your area, who might be able to help. So across Staffordshire, we have 6 Barclays Girls Football in School strategic leads. We've got 4 of them on the call with us this evening. Obviously, Chris is one who covers South Staffs. We've got Kelly with us who covers Stafford, Vicky with us who covers Stoke, and Hannah with us who covers East Staffs. We also have two more in our county, which is Greg covers Cannock and Wayne covers Wolverhampton. There's also 4 additional roles that go across our kind of county, which are digital partnerships. So it's a similar role, but instead of being kind of actively out on the out on the ground as such, doing kind of a day a week as such in this role, it's more of a signposting role in addition to another role that they might do. So they still have a role to play, but they're maybe not quite as kind of on the ground active, but they will quite happily still kind of share things out, signpost stuff, or kind of connect schools and clubs and stuff together. We also have the school games organisers. So a lot of the people that do the strategic lead role or the digital partnership role will also kind of overlap as a school games organizer as well. And I guess, yeah, Chris kind of mentioned before, that role is in place that covers the whole of sport, particularly around kind of that inclusion piece. So they'll look at a wider piece of sport, not just football, and they overlap. The ones obviously on the picture I've put there, the circles that are all one that are split into different colours, it's the same person who does that kind of role. So you'll have one person to kind of go to. If there's 2 or 3 dots in your kind of area, they're potentially different people that kind of do them roles within your kind of area on the map there for you as well. And then obviously we've got school sport or kind of education partnerships that we that go on in kind of Newcastle, East Staffs, and Wolverhampton is slightly differently run in their kind of education system as well. So hope that just gives you a picture of the different people that might be in your role that you can connect to. And I've got a little bit of a video now. Hopefully the sound shares on the Berkeley Skills Football in Schools kind of work and network. Let us know if you can hear the sound and everything.
Pressure, there's lots of exams, there's lots of tests. When you're just playing, just forget about it all. Don't worry about other stuff like shooting a goal. Fun. Not just a boys' sport. It's not just a girls' sport. It's everyone's sport. Girls can do anything, so you can try if you want. Even if it doesn't work out, you know you tried. Football is really becoming inclusive. When I come to football, it's like having a second family because we're all so close together. It's kind of like my happy place, and whenever I stand up on the pitch, I just all like my worries go away. I want to encourage as many as.
Apologies, the Wi-Fi doesn't seem to be working very well. Kind of on the video, but I'll try and move on and yeah, and then hopefully I'll share it with you afterwards and you can maybe catch up on the video if I can. Yeah, we'll try that. Sorry for the connection problems. But hopefully you kind of got a little bit of the gist of it, so feel free to kind of catch up on it another time. But yeah, hopefully you just kind of got a bit of an idea of that. The Berkeley Skills Football in Schools kind of network is the task is to make football a more equal kind of space for everybody, girls, boys, and on those alike, an opportunity to kind of play the sport without any barriers getting in the way, whether that's in curriculum or out of curriculum. It's a national network as well. I'll just mention that. So this is a partnership that is the FA and Youth Sport Trust kind of pulled together as a national network and funded by Barclays. Chris or Vic, I don't mind. One of you guys want to just talk through kind of the objectives and the equal access kind of work?
Do you want me to go ahead again?
Go for it. I'm just struggling to unmute myself, but but you go for it.
So I sort of mentioned that there is a survey every year that we ask all of our schools to complete, and that asks questions about equality of provision in terms of extracurricular and curriculum. It looks at all forms, so although initially we always had all 4 key stages, it doesn't look at sixth form provision. The focus now is very much key stage 2 and key stage 3. In addition to that, we have a number of programs that support that we try to influence the schools with in terms of leadership opportunities as well. So in terms of coaching and also refereeing, and there's some programs that the Youth Sports Trust have developed that support that, but we also work with the Staffs FA, and we're very lucky because our Staffs FA are much more proactive, I would say, than some of our other counties. I mean, it might be that we just have an exceptional officer, but and in Danny tries to sort of link the programs together, because the Youth Sports Trust have got some idea on football, but really you need to actually have the people who are working in it to actually say this will work with this program that the FA already have. And so we've been lucky that we actually marry things up rather than sort of letting things just drop and go, we'll see how that one goes. And Danny is very knowledgeable of her county to say, I think this is a good one for us to work on in terms of play on, which is one of the club opportunities.
Thanks, Chris.
I don't know whether there's anything else I need to say. Can anybody else add to that?
No, I think we're okay. My screen has been very slow this evening. Apologies. Yeah, and just following on with that about kind of the yearly timeline of things that go on throughout the year. So you'll probably find that about in this kind of term of the year, there'll be kind of a few competitions, or it'll be the period in the calendar where schools are engaging with their school games organizer, or in ESFA competitions, or within their PE association, in playing some competitions. It usually happens, or they usually take part in tournaments, games, things like that. Kind of in this autumn term is generally where you find kind of football in the calendar. That isn't always the case. Some areas will do it kind of throughout the year or at different points throughout the year. But typically across a lot of our areas in the county, you'll find kind of competitions happen quite early on in the year, and there's a good opportunity there for clubs to go down and get involved, introduce themselves to different teachers and schools that might be attending the events kind of as well. The spring term, so that goes from kind of the new year through to the Easter kind of period, is usually where we have biggest ever football session, which is a school-led campaign encouraging more girls to play football within schools. Over the last couple of years, that's aligned with International Women's Day, and it's generally been whichever the Friday has been kind of closest to International Women's Day. And we've also tried to get clubs involved in this over the last few years as well, where we could at different parts of the county. So there's a real opportunity there where momentum is growing, and there's kind of a national objective across the country as well as within our county, where girls will be playing football, because it's part of that kind of national project, and obviously with the engagement around International Women's Day as well. And the biggest ever football session, that's they usually align quite nicely. So we haven't got a specific date for that at the moment. We're waiting for it to be confirmed by the Youth Sport Trust and FA for this coming season. However, say it's usually around the Friday before or after kind of International Women's Day. So kind of we'll share that when we've got a little bit more information. In the summer term is when our strategic leads will then be going out to all the schools, trying to chase them up and get them to complete the equal access survey. but it's also probably the point in the year where kind of after the biggest ever football session, clubs might start to want to engage with schools a little bit more directly. It's that time of the year that, March, April, May, June time where clubs will be recruiting new players, new teams and stuff for the new season ahead. And you've got an opportunity there to kind of capitalise on the momentum generated from biggest ever football session kind of through into club and school partnership kind of work there. So it's something that we're going to really kind of emphasise and push on a little bit more this year, with the opportunity to engage and work together a little bit more and really grow the participants in the space, kind of moving from that spring into the summer term, and hopefully grow participants across the female game more so, kind of ready for the season ahead for team-based activity, as well as the sessional stuff that you might be running around Wildcat Squad, particularly if you're only running them in the kind of that over that like summer period to help you kind of recruit the team players as well. Okay, get there in a minute when the laptop catches up. On a definite go slow today.
Danny, it's Paul. Can I?
Yes, you're right, Paul.
All right, the biggest ever football day.
Yeah.
We've done well. In fact, Carl's on the call tonight, and it's more Carl that's done it than I have at the end of the day, but it's from the club.
Yeah.
That sounds at middle school, as in year 5s to year 8s.
Yeah.
What about the first schools? Is there a lower age band it always starts at? Because I would say I think twice, 3 times we've run it. I forget. Can't say Carl now. He's done them.
Yeah.
We've done them at middle school.
Yeah.
And but our engagement to a degree is we're probably from first schools. Our soccer schools or our under sevens, whatever they'll be next time in under 8. So year 1, year 2s, year 3s.
Yeah.
Is there a lower age band than why we've always done it at middle school?
Yeah, no, there's no particular kind of group and it might be different in different areas. Chris, if you want to, obviously with it being your kind of area, do you want to jump in on that one as well?
It really is dependent on whether there is somebody within your. If you've got a school that's running an event themselves, so for example, you've got a really proactive member of staff at Penkridge Middle who wants to run a day and she wants to push that through, so she does that. It may well be that your first schools won't actually run a day themselves. Although if you came to me and said, actually, we'd like to run a day, I could be your broker and do it that way. So it's very much dependent on whether you have a member of staff who is willing to do that, or they're just doing a few little bits and pieces that week. Everybody's biggest girls' football day is different. Kelly runs a massive festival in her area across the week. I, in terms of my capacity, can't do that. So I have to rely on my schools to do whatever they think they can do within their area. And I might do a little bit more at Cheshunt because that is where I'm based. So Paul, if you wanted something to happen with first schools, I can put it to first schools and we could do it. But it is also, you're very much dependent a little bit on the school themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I suppose, ultimately, and I don't know, Chris, whether it was you that was involved a few years back. They did something where they brought the first schools to Woolgarston, to the 3G, and did a couple of weeks of that one. That was probably more because if you got to we can't put lots and lots of people into the schools. You say it's always the teacher that needs to back it. And I was just thinking whether there's another way around it. I don't know whether it was you or somebody else a few years back. Around about 4 weeks of games on a Monday evening at 5 o'clock, something like that, up on the 3G.
Yeah, and I did that. I've done that for the last 2 years. On the 3G. So I do that. What we didn't do this year was probably link so much with the club. We just went ahead and did it. So that again is an example.
Yeah. So I think that's probably just touching on kind of a little bit there of how it is quite area specific, and hopefully you get an opportunity very shortly to kind of discuss that with your kind of area lead. Chris, I don't know whether you want to kind of have a quick chat through some of the programs.
The other thing that we are doing as well in the autumn term is writing the development plan. And this year for our development plan, it has a big focus on working with clubs. So Danny could not have been more opportune by putting this meeting together, because of the fact that we actually have a big session where they're saying you really need to be starting focusing working with your clubs. So that's also something we also do in the autumn term. So it's a good time to come and say, could we do this? In terms of the biggest girls football programs, we've got primary Wildcats is obviously the secondary stuff, but the stuff that comes through with the clubs, and then Shooting Stars is the equivalent program within the school area. That was originally a Key Stage 2 program, but they've recognised now that it's very much more about physical activity, getting kids to move and getting them initially involved and feeling that sport and possibly football is a fun thing for them to go and do. There's a new program coming, which we haven't seen yet because we get it at the conference in October, which is a Key Stage 2 conference, which I think the criticism of Shooting Stars was there wasn't enough football. So strangely enough, this one has got football in it, but we haven't seen it yet. And I think it's got a bit of a coaching and it's got a bit of a refereeing base with it too. I think Kelly might have been slightly involved with some of that, and also Wayne in our area into why they've changed the programme. And then secondary, we have what is called a Game On programme, and that is very much about developing, sort of empowering your young leaders and also your teachers, and how to make football something that not just your 7 or 8 really good players want to play, but it's trying to develop the skills across the girls in terms of their coaching, their engagement in the game, and them taking a little bit of control on it. So that's the Game On programme. We have had for the last 2 years Game On conferences, which has looked at the girls developing something within their school in order to get themselves ready for biggest ever football day, which again is a little bit of a thing of, well, you're doing it with the secondary schools, couldn't you do something with the primary focus for them to be empowered, which I think Kelly has always been a champion of. And then again, Key Stage 4, looking at your under 15, under 16 girls, again, that is a little bit more on Game On too. I don't know whether I've explained that very well or not.
Yeah, no, that's all right. Yeah, so obviously kind of the playing provision is very much looked at in them younger cohorts at primary, and then we've got a little bit of kind of playing provision accompanied with some coaching and refereeing, kind of more skills-based workshops available for those in the secondary schools. And we've got a new program working with Vicky Smith within our office as well, who's going to be working within the schools network with us this year as well, around some kind of youth volunteering opportunities as well, and trying to link the girls school partnership kind of work together with the youth volunteers stuff. So obviously that'll be something kind of new for this year as well. I've also got, it was playing before when Paul was trying to speak, but this little video here is just a little bit of a recap of, hopefully it'll play this time, of our, oh no, it's moved us on anyway. So again, I'll share the slides and you can watch it in your own time, because the technology isn't my friend this evening. But yeah, that was just a recap. We went on to socials last year of some of the activities that went on around biggest ever football session last year. So you can have a look at that when I share the slides. We've got our strategic leads just here, just as a recap of the areas that they cover and who might be in kind of your area, followed by our digital partnership kind of leads across the Moorlands, Newcastle, Walsall and Lichfield. Kel, I'm going to hand over to you now, and you can have a bit of a chat around some of the work that you did last year with the clubs in Stafford and Stone.
Yeah, thank you very much, Danny. So that's the quietest I've probably sat in a meeting with my colleagues for quite a long time, because I'm quite a chatterbox. So it was really lovely to listen to the presentation there. So I really wanted to share with you something that's worked really well in our area. So I cover Stafford and Stone. And I've been working with 2 clubs over the last few years, and it's been a real success, and I wanted to sort of share that so you could see what was going on. So firstly, Stonehall Delanians, Richard Jones I've been working with for a number of years. He has put on, he's supported the biggest girls football session. We've had football festivals over at Lanes, where it's been years 1 and 2 or years 3 and 4. And then what we've had is some young leaders from the local sort of game on programs, so from Elaine School and from Christchurch Middle and Walton Priory, who would then come and support. So they would have gone through that key stage 3 sort of program, and then using those girls to then help the events that were held at the club. So obviously the officials are there, so it's really good, because what happens is any girls that are interested at the end of the event, they're given like a little goodie bag with details if they want to join or just come along to a session. And when they come along, they'll see faces that they've seen already, because I think that's half the battle sometimes, coming along and feeling quite especially if they're not with their friends, coming along, having a chat, thinking, oh, I recognise that person already because they were at that session, and it was really nice there. Also, Richard's put on like a separate, just, because obviously I work in a school myself as well. I'm a PE teacher, and I know what it's like getting lots of emails and lots of requests to go to events. It is quite hard for teachers to do that. So another thing he did was put on just a separate Saturday morning session just for the girls to come along. So all I had to do was send it to the school staff. Obviously we have all the sort of teachers' details for PE leads for each school, and I sent it to them, and then they just booked on separately to it. So it wasn't then the involvement of the schools having to do it, because obviously they are quite busy as well. So that worked really well as well. And I know we've had, before, we've had some really good success with the girls then going on to then carry on through the, the club as well, which is lovely. Barkswich, again, very similar festivals, where it's been again those younger age groups, because I think that's where it's quite critical as well. Years 1 and 2, 3 and 4, coming straight after school to an after school sort of taster session, if you like. Teachers coming along, parents coming along. And when the parents come along, it's nice for them to see the facilities. And obviously Stafford and Stone are 2 different places. I'll have girls coming from Stafford to Stone to the Stonehall Delanians Club. I'll have, girls from Stone coming across to. It all depends on what sort of fits well with a parent, what day they can take their children to a club, because obviously they might have other commitments themselves. So sharing these sort of sessions where they can come along with the children and obviously watch the girls do it, it is a really good thing. So with Barkswich again in Stafford, that's been working really well, just doing some basic skills, some tiny mini games just to get them involved. Sometimes they're a little bit more experienced, sometimes they're less experienced, and it just works really well. And it's really nice to sort of target the schools around the areas of where they're potentially going to be able to travel to as well. So it's just worked really well. And obviously talking about like the young leaders as well, there's lots of young leaders that go to these things where they're sort of learning through the programs, and it's just really lovely to see girls leading girls. And through the programs that we've had, they've gone on to do like refereeing courses, and now they're fully qualified refs. So it's a lovely progression through the programs that we've got within the partnership here, and obviously then seeing them actually integrated, doing coaching roles and playing football. So I just really wanted to share that because it's been a real success. Mm-hmm. And it's been, quite nice. It's about having those relationships, I suppose, and obviously trying to find out what works in each area and finding the right people to direct you to. And hopefully this is what today's event is about, obviously, mm-hmm. to connect people.
That's great. Thanks, Kel. I'll also kind of add on to that as well, is kind of over the course of this year, Kelly has become a representative on our Staffordshire FA Council as well, so representing the girls game. So obviously she's a kind of a key link now from the schools network, but also in the clubs kind of space as well, which can directly kind of influence kind of the work that goes on across kind of a wider pool of things going on. Kind of being involved in our council as well. Right, moving on, I think Yes, we've got one more thing to kind of cover, and hopefully we'll have an opportunity just to break out into them rooms for the last kind of section. The last kind of thing I wanted to kind of share with you from a club's point of view would be there's a program called Play On, which launched a couple of years ago as part of a pilot program, but also is now kind of available for people to access year round. But yeah, so the Play On program is available in kind of two different ways. So the first way is that it's available year round for anybody to access to work with any age group from schools and clubs. And the way it works is that you set up a set of you build that relationship with a school. You set up a set amount of weeks that you're going to deliver for on a kind of a short-term basis. They recommended kind of 6 to 8 weeks. You deliver kind of 4 weeks as maybe an after school or a lunchtime club or something like that, kind of within that school environment, and maybe 2 or 4 weeks kind of within your club or community kind of environment as well. So that might link to an existing session. If you've already got a Wildcat Centre kind of running, you can connect it kind of straight into that. Or you could set up something new, like Kelly said, run something that's in that more kind of after school type period for a few weeks, which then you could kind of connect to other sessions at your club thereafter as well. So it can be quite flexible in terms of how that's delivered, the weeks it's run for, and if you've got the volunteers or you can get volunteers to kind of help support some of them school sessions, you've got an opportunity to kind of use that as targeted work to recruit players for your pathway. The second kind of alternative kind of way you can use Play On is a link to a Squad Girls provider. So there's a real push from the FA nationally now to kind of link into recreational football for girls at kind of that 12 to 14 or that teen kind of age bracket, if you wanted to push that up a little bit more, to kind of work with high schools in offering football as a recreational kind of offer. Kind of a more turn up and play, not too much pressure to be the best player or to join a team, but just happy to kind of come along and play in them kind of sessional kind of activities, even if you've never been involved in kind of football before. There's a financial incentive of that as well. So if you've got a Squad Girls provider and you want to use Play On to help recruit players for your Squad Girls session, there's a similar to the way the programs used to work and the Squad Girls Centre works, there's an additional £500 available kind of there to recruit for your Squad Girls session. Clubs also receive kind of a resources pack, so that's applicable for everybody. So even if you're working in the primary kind of age groups and stuff as well, you get a set of resources and a bit of equipment and stuff from the FA National as well, which the club can then utilise for the sessions that you've got over the course of the year. Or if you wanted to form a new team and use that as their kind of starter kit for the team, that's absolutely fine as well. Similarly, you might have a really good relationship with your school and you might want to share kind of some with them as well, or if it's something that you're going to do regularly, you might let the school kind of keep it and then you'll just pick up that equipment and stuff when the school when you go and kind of deliver in the school kind of on that kind of weekly basis, if you've got capacity to do something like that. So that Play On program is there for people to kind of pick up at any time. The way that works is you just complete a form. It's got a load of details on. It's just an online form. You can complete the form, but you also need the school that you're going to work with and the contact information, because then as soon as that is entered into the form, that'll get automatically sent over to the school to complete their kind of copy and their version, and that's like a bit of an SLA then on both the club and the school, saying that they're going to work together as part of that partnership. And then you can set up your kind of sessions thereafter and kind of report on how many players that you potentially got going from that kind of school environment into the club environment as well. So that program is there to kind of pick up, and we're more than happy to kind of help support, get some Play On sessions and kind of programs set up with clubs and schools. Right, I'm going to stop sharing and see if I can work out how to break out into kind of these rooms now. So we had an opportunity to go through in them breakout rooms some area specific stuff, and connect with the strategic leads on the call with us and the clubs in the room. We brought everybody back together afterwards and just answered a few questions, but I thought I'd just tidy up the end of the workshop for everybody else as well. So a couple of next steps moving on from this now would be to contact and engage with your strategic lead or the school games organizer in your area. So you might already have their contact, or you're more than welcome to get in contact with myself and I can put you in touch with the relevant people or person. You might then want to collectively kind of identify the schools in your area which you want to work with. That might come from the school lead because they'll know which schools are quite engaged that you'll be able to work with in that area. It might be more targeted that they want to try and engage with some schools that they've struggled with before that you might be able to help kind of broker that relationship with as well. Similarly, you might have a relationship with a school that you want to work with already, so you can have that discussion with the strategic lead or the school kind of lead in that in your area as to which schools you might want to work with for the next steps to engage with. Get in contact with the schools that you might want to work with or arrange that intervention with, and that might just be a case of sharing some content or flyers, advertising sessions, things like that. Or it might also, and that might come from yourselves if you've got a good relationship already, that might be it with or through the strategic lead or the SGO in that area, because they might have a little bit more success in making contact if you haven't already got that relationship. And the last stage would be kind of delivering whatever intervention it is. So if you are going to go then and work with the schools or invite them to the club, organise a transition event that Kelly talked about earlier, you can then go and deliver that then with the help of or in partnership with that strategic lead. And that kind of summarises the rest of the workshop that we talked through. If you've got any questions, please get in touch with myself and I can put you in touch with the right person in the schools network and or support myself kind of more directly. Thank you.